Welcome, everyone, to another Tracking Trends Thursday with Kristen Mason Coreas, owner of the Homes by Mason team. I kind of slurred that. My apologies. I am from Massachusetts, in case you didn't know that. And so I talk kind of fast, faster than some people down here. I don't know. I don't think I talk fast, but compared to people from the southern states, I probably talk really fast. In any case, today is February 5th, and we're here to talk about what is happening in real estate as we usually do every Thursday, midday, usually. Interest rates went up a touch from last week. We're at 6.11%, still a low point in terms of where we have been, certainly for the year and for the past 3 years, in fact. So the year range you can see down here is between 6.06 and 6.89. And in fact, last year, I got to get rid of that. My apologies. Last year at this same time, we were averaging 6.89. So that makes a big difference. I mean, that's almost a full percent. And when I do a buyer consultation with people, I actually I have a slide that shows the difference in monthly payment between 1%. And, every time I do that slide, I kind of think, God, right? Like, when do we see a change in 1% interest rates? Well, we're seeing it right now. And it does make a really big difference for people's monthly payments. That is significant. Now, there's lots of other things going on that also are impacting people's ability to buy. Mostly what's going on with the economy in terms of the job market and politically, there's just some uncertainty and instability, certainly, especially in our Northern Virginia area, which does rely largely, heavily, not entirely, but on what's happening with the government. So in the Mid-Atlantic region, you'll actually see here that some of the trends in our larger DC metro area and our hyperlocal area, which I always get to at the end, are different than what you're seeing in the Mid-Atlantic region. So this is one of the reasons why I share both what's going on and why it is super important to make sure that you are tracking what is happening specifically in your area and your market, because it's not always the same across the board. So purchase contracts are for the Mid-Atlantic larger area are healthier than last year, with almost an 11% jump from the same week last year. That's not what's happening in our DC metro area or our hyperlocal area. New listings are up also in the Mid-Atlantic region. You'll see it's different in the DC metro area and the hyperlocal area. List prices are flat overall in 2025. However, in the Washington and Baltimore areas, they have fallen. So let's look at the larger DC metro area. Showings are down 27% from a year ago. That's a big number, and down almost 15% from a week ago. So again, part of this is due to the winter weather that we are not used to. And so definitely that's playing into this data. And also we did have another little government shutdown. So that's probably not yet showing up in these numbers here. They'll show up in my hyperlocal numbers, but we'll probably see the impact of that as well somewhat next week. And of course, we're wondering if we'll continue to see impact. In case you didn't know, February 13th is another looming deadline for the government. If there's not agreement in regards to ICE funding, then there may be another partial government shutdown for DHS, which will impact people in our area. So we are looking that down as well. I'm watching that. Purchase contracts are down 20% from last year and 24% from a week ago. Median time to contract longer by 11 days compared to last year, a median of 42 days, really long time, and only of 1 day from the week before. New listings, you can see the raw number right there, 802. That's not a big number. That is down almost 25% from last year and almost 19% from last week. Again, this is the week ending February 1st. February 1st was Sunday. I know that because that was my daughter's birthday. And so that was, definitely including all of that snow. Most people were home for that prior week. And did I already talk about median list price? Price is up though, a touch. So, I do tell you that prices in general are strong in our area. That doesn't mean that they're infallible, but in general, prices do tend to be strong. For all those people who want to wait and see prices go down, it doesn't necessarily happen consistently or for a long period of time. Sure, every once in a while we see dips, but we don't tend to see that for long. We shall see, knocking on wood. So median list price up 1.3% from last year and up almost 3% from the week before. Active listings up 19% from a year ago and down 2.3% from last week. Our hyperlocal area, which is Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax, and Falls Church, where we do most of our business at Homes by Mason. And we run this data manually for you. And the dates that we're looking at are from January 28th to February 3rd. So this is the raw data. You can see it doesn't look too different from the week before. And then when we take a closer look at how comparing it to the week before, you can see that the supply is up a touch and contracts were down a touch compared to the week before in our hyperlocal area. Compared to the year before, we were down in both inventory and in contracts compared to the year before. So we didn't have this weather last year. So again, like that and a government shutdown. So I'm not surprised that we're down in both of those things based upon what happened in our area last week. Demand to supply ratio, though, still pretty healthy at 89.6.4%. That is a measure to remind you of how many new contracts were written compared to how many new listings came on the market. And so that gives you an idea of how much inventory gets left over and an idea of how much demand is out there. So last year at the same time, it was 90%, so roughly the same. So that is, and then our days on market, I think that number is 35, down, I think, 2 days from the week before. So that is your Tracking Trends Thursday for today, February 5th. And anytime you want to talk about what's happening in the market and how it might impact you and your decisions, please reach out. I am happy to have these conversations and look at the data specifically for you that matters most specifically to you. You can call me or text me at 571-210-1866. That number is right here. You can email me directly at kristen@homesbymason.com. You can check out more information and resources on my website at homesbymason.com. And by the way, if you know any first-time home buyers, we are doing a first-time home buyer webinar, particularly to talk about first-time home buyer programs, because there is money available right now. And typically this happens at the beginning of the year. Money comes out for first-time home buyers and it's first come, first served, and then it goes away. So now is the time, if you're a first-time home buyer, to make sure you are getting informed and educated about the money and the programs that's available, because by the end of the year, they're gone. I mean, frankly, midway through, definitely in the fall, that money is not available. Programs are not really available. The people have used it up. So if you know anyone who is a first-time home buyer thinking about buying, connect them with me, send them my way. If you go to the website, we have an events page. You can find the registration there. If you're in our newsletter, there's a link there. And, again, call me, text me anytime you want some information and you can't find it. That is it. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a relatively warm and certainly safe weekend, and wish me and my daughter luck. She's playing in a tournament this weekend. Well, playoffs, actually, best of 3 series. So hopefully we'll be okay in the snowy, cold weather, and have some success that hopefully I'll be back to share with you next week. Thanks again and take care.